The Jobtrainer scheme. Even more support for construction. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my morning shine of coffee that I'm still working through, and I thought we'd have a look at this article from news.com.au prepared by Samantha Maiden discussing the Jobtrainer scheme. Jobtrainer. Now, it sounds good. On face value, you think, fantastic, more money for education, more money to support, the youth who are going to suffer the most with unemployment. Getting people into work and off government support. Hopefully improving the complexity of our economy. Maybe making Australia more resilient. Maybe investing in long-term infrastructure that can support the continued growth of our population, reduce the burdens on the average citizen, and start to reduce the taxation that we all must bear. Maybe make power and water cheaper. No, Florian. You're dreaming there. They're just going to chuck more at housing. This is something I've been discussing for a while. I've been asking people, do you think it's just they're going to throw the kitchen sink and everything at housing? While there's certain parties making predictions that property will fall, worst case at 30%, some at 10%. What will they allow it to happen? So let's have a look at the Jobtrainer scheme. So are you eligible for Scott Morrison's tradie cash splash? And this is the thing. Training is fantastic. Improves the ability, it can change people's lives. It's a good thing. And, a civilization, you want to invest in your population to allow them to better themselves. Now, the government wants to do it in some ways to tax farm you. But the problem is the government will step in and will regulate and will create monopolies for education and training. So they create, in one way, they're creating barriers to people creating businesses and learning new skills. And in other ways, then they hand out money to kind of pretend like they're giving you something when they're creating barriers to, impeding your ability to learn or get a qualification. Just think how much you spend on university and how much you can learn from online sources or even for free. Apprentices will have their pay covered by the Morrison government, and school leavers offered free training under a $2 billion investment to help support Australia's response to the pandemic. So they're chucking it at apprentices. Here's the thing. What's going to happen if you get an apprentice and their pay is paid entirely for you? That's going to mean that these businesses will take on 2 or 3 apprentices rather than hiring someone qualified. Can you blame them? Makes sense to do it. Then what happens when they finish their apprenticeship? Oh, sorry, we've got no more work for you. Gone. Another apprentice. You need to have ongoing work as well. One issue that I've noticed in my profession, in that there's a lot of firms, a lot of big firms, that will send a lot of the drafting offshore. A lot of the documentation offshore. So you're losing that first rung in the ladder that people need to enter the profession. The drafting job. It used to be the print boy. You'd be making the coffees, running the prints through the ammonia printer. And I only know that because my father had one. If those go offshore, where's that first rung in the ladder? Prime Minister Scott Morrison will announce the expanded wage subsidy Jobtrainer scheme worth up to $7,000 a quarter today. It is the first element of the second phase of recovery after JobKeeper is phased out in September. The fate of the $1,500 a fortnight JobKeeper subsidy and the double dole payments is set to be announced next week in a major economic statement from the Prime Minister flagging ongoing support for some industries, including Qantas. Didn't Qantas just do a huge share buyback? Don't worry, guys. We'll just pay for it all in future taxations. So what they'll do is they'll trade you up. They'll give you all these things. You may struggle to find a job after you finish your apprenticeship, but then they'll just tax you to the end of time. Nothing's free. Everyone, nothing is free. It sounds good. This is the thing. It sounds good, and I understand why people are attracted to these type of things. But they're just interventions as well as any other. Do we need tons and tons of apprentices? What if we saturate the market then? Well, maybe wages will go down. Fantastic. You know, people will love getting trades cheaper. Do you think the tradies will be happy? So, it is the first element of the second phase of recovery after... I've already read that. The expanded apprentice wage subsidy will be announced on Thursday. Will now cover half the pay of up to 180,000 eligible applicants until March 2021, up to a maximum of 530 a week. So how many are going to lose their job in March 2021? You won't have your apprenticeship finished by then. You'll just be starting. How many people will be struggling to find an apprenticeship then? For the first time, it will be extended to medium-sized businesses with less than 200 employees, as well as small businesses that are already covered. So these are businesses that probably don't need it, frankly. It'd be nice if they, rather than the government spending our money and pushing us into further debt and requiring to, well, harvest more money from us one way or another to prop this up, maybe they could reduce costs, reduce burdens somehow. Maybe just reduce the fuel excises, the fuel costs, so the tradies going to work can save a bit of money. You know, living off that apprenticeship may be feasible. As the economy is plunged into recession, the Morrison government hopes the new Jobtrainer scheme will also help support hundreds of thousands of jobs for school leavers and the unemployed. For school leavers facing the unemployment queue next year, it will offer 340,700 new trainees and 180,000 apprentices free and low-fee TAFE courses. I mean, this is the thing. They're going to hide the unemployment rate by training people. Jobtrainer will ensure more Australians have the chance to reskill or upskill to fill the jobs on the other side of the crisis, the Prime Minister said. Will there be jobs on the other side of the crisis? If migration, which is, well, fueling a lot of our property boom, if that disappears, if that's not going to return until well after 2021, if international students aren't going to return, so the demand for constructing student accommodation is going to disappear, if our population growth, which is so dependent on people coming in from overseas, if that disappears, will there be a demand for all these trades? And is this actually going to add to the complexity of our civilization? Building houses are not, well, reasonably advanced, but all the components that go into it, well, how many of those are manufactured here as opposed to how many are imported? Try and specify an Australian-made toilet, everyone. One that's actually fully manufactured here in this country. Try it. It's difficult. I know, we try to do it. The pandemic is unprecedented, but I want Australians to be ready for the sorts of jobs that will come as we build back and recover. The jobs and skills we'll need as we come out of this crisis are not likely to be the same as those that we've lost. Then why are you just doing the same thing again? Why are you just chucking it at apprenticeships and TAFE courses? I mean, TAFEs are by no means efficient in the training that they do. You know, I've heard some really shocking stories about how inefficient they are, how much of a luxury it is. I know I've done work on TAFE buildings and just seeing, I mean, where are all the people? Where are all the students? Why are there only like 10 people here in this huge factory learning 3 things? But to be eligible for the wage subsidy, apprentices must be employed by July 1, 2020. There you go. The short courses will target skills shortages identified by the states and the National Skills Commission. They will include training for jobs in healthcare and social assistance, transport, postal and warehousing, manufacturing, retail trade and wholesale trade. Employment Minister Michaelia Cash said the NSC would play a critical role in identifying current and future skills needed in the challenging and changing labour market. So, here's the thing, guys. Do people even think we have a free market? We've got a National Skills Committee. I mean, come on. Seriously. The market isn't going to adapt. But this is the political will in Australia. We're a very interventionist nation, and people want this. They want this intervention. They don't realize in 5 years' time, or even in 2 years' time, when all these apprentices are getting fired. I mean, if you can, if you've got nothing else, jump at it. Take the advantage. Get the training, and make sure you're not going to lose the job. Don't take on debt expecting this will last more than this government scheme. That's what you have to do if you're in this situation. need to find a way to take advantage. Then maybe if you get a trade, you can flip it into being, well, having your own business, being your own employer, creating your own work. That's the future. That's what you're going to have to do, because it's just crazy out there. Our nation has faced many challenges, and it is critical that we keep our apprentices in jobs and help those looking for work, Minister Cash said. This package will be essential as the economy rebuilds so that people looking for work can reskill and upskill for in-demand jobs, provide school leavers with a pathway into their careers, and ensure businesses are able to get the skilled workers they need. We will work with states and territories to develop a list of qualifications and skill sets that will provide job seekers with the skills that are in demand by employers and are critical to the recovery of the economy. So this is on the federal level. You've got the Jobtrainer package. We also have, here at the state level, you've got the government. The Queensland government is spending, what, 90 million to create more jobs in the recovery. So it's just going to be, the government is going to be spending. And remember, the government doesn't create jobs. They take money away from people that you could spend in the market that would create jobs, and they deploy it for their own political reasons. So this is the thing. There's no discussion at all about the government reducing the costs and burdens on people as a way of stimulating the economy. Is that even mentioned anywhere? Sure, we're getting some tax breaks coming forward, which is good, which is really encouraging, but that's the only thing we've heard. Never even a contemplation of reduction in the SINS taxes, no reductions in petrol taxes. You know, there's talk about increasing the GST and expanding it. So, Queensland businesses could receive up to $20,000 to hire a new apprentice or trainee as the state government looks to get more people back to work. Now, here's the thing. If you're hiring someone just for the kickback, is that necessary? And if these businesses were going to hire people anyway, why is the government giving them a kickback? So what you're going to do is you're going to get businesses hiring people just for the 20 grand and then finding a way to get rid of them, or, you know, milking them. Or instead of hiring someone qualified, they're going to hire 5 apprentices. So again, it's a way to reduce unemployment, to artificially reduce unemployment and create a tax burden for future generations. So they give with one hand, and then they're punching you in the back of the neck with the other. Good old government. But people are going to lap this up, everyone. They're going to be people who love this, who are saying this is the best thing, because they want to see the government do something. And I guess they're just not thinking long term. Premier Anastasiy, Palaszczuk, yes. Isn't it Palaszczuk or something? Let me know. All the Polish people, let me know in the comments. Announced today the government would spend $90 million to create more jobs to get more Queenslanders back to work as part of the state's economic recovery plan. The Back to Work program will be expanded with a $70 million investment, which will mean eligible businesses will receive up to $20,000 to take on an eligible apprentice or trainee. See, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he's looking at taking on more people. He didn't even mention this. This didn't even exist. So he was going to do it anyway, and I wonder if he'll take on an apprentice. He probably won't, because they can be a pain in the ass sometimes. Is the 20 grand worth it dealing with a young apprentice that's got a bit of attitude? You let me know in the comments, everyone. Since 2016, this program has supported more than 22,600 jobs. That's not very many in 4 years. In addition, $10 million would go towards Queensland's new Reef Assist program, creating shovel-ready projects for the Great Barrier Reef catchment area. This is expected to create up to 200 jobs. 200 jobs isn't that impressive. Or am I just getting old and cynical? The investment recognises the opportunity to provide practical work and economic benefits for Queensland's regional and remote communities to aid economic recovery, while leaving lasting benefits for Queensland's environment, agriculture and nature-based tourism industry. These jobs will also deliver positive environmental outcomes such as improved resistance to natural disasters, improved water quality, habit restoration, weed and pest management. I think it all sounds like busy work. I think it sounds like a glorified, souped-up version of work for the doll, picking up rubbish and, cleaning up things. Maybe I'm just too skeptical. The jobs boost will provide opportunities for young people, Indigenous people, and the general community, said Shelley McEarldy, board member of Queensland Water and Land Carers. After all that has happened with floods, drought, fire, and now the pandemic, this gives our community a welcome lifeline, she said. Around 500 jobs will be created by the $10 million investment to extend the Skilling Queensland for Work program. Palaszczuk said the program would continue to provide job-ready skills and training to get people back into the workforce. Well, there you go. I mean, how does... Anyway, I was going to do a personal attack on the Premier. I shouldn't. I should be nice. But, I mean, here in Queensland, I was talking to a colleague yesterday. What choice do we have? You know, you got Palaszczuk and you got, you know, the opposition. It's, you know, not much choice here. We need an upper house in Queensland. At least so any of these changes they do need to have some scrutiny. That's the one reason I would argue for more government, sadly. But here we have it, guys. Jobtrainer, the next government spending splurge. What do you all think? Are you in favour of it? Or are you as cynical and sceptical of this program as I am? Do you think it'll prove a benefit? Or do you think all these apprentices will suddenly lose their job the day the money handout disappears? As always, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you next time.